Hey everybody, welcome to Survivology 101. I am Norseman, and in this video we're going to build a fleshing beam. I say we because I have a very special guest helping me out with this project. His name is Mikhail Makirioff from Emberlit. Ha! Look at that! Alright, so if you're sick of donating your elk and deer hides to the coyotes, then you might want to stick around because this video is for you. Alright, so first thing we got to do is we have to lay out our plan and our idea, but it kind of makes sense that before you build a fleshing beam that you actually understand what one's for and the functionality behind it and how it's supposed to work. So for that, we're going to go to Mikhail.
So the fleshing beam is it's just a board or a piece of PVC pipe, but it's a surface that we can put a raw hide on it and use it as backing while we're scraping off all the hair and the membrane and the outer layer of skin, so that we can process those hides into leather, into
And
rain tan
PVC,
color.
that's how the ancients did it, right? That's the traditional way to do it.
It is. Wood came into play just recently.
Just recently?
Just recently.
They just started to do wood? Yeah. So PVC is probably the most ancient way to do it. I think that the Vikings might have used PVC.
Oh, long before the Vikings, Romans.
Romans, really?
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, so that's the way we're going to do it. We're going to use PVC because we want to make it as traditional as possible. Yeah. So the first thing we need is a piece of PVC tubing.
Yeah, and
I think it grows over there.
You know, I did see a piece that was ripe.
All right.
So I'll go grab it.
So Mikhail's going to go off and pick us a piece of PVC tube in order to make this. And if he cuts it at just the right angle, we don't have to cut it again. It'll just be perfect. All right, Mikhail has returned from his quest for the PVC.
I think,
is it right?
Do a little bit of birdie there. I think that's good.
All right. So we got a ripe piece of black PVC. I like the black myself, but it also comes in white, and I think they make a gray. Different species grow in different regions, but up here in Idaho,
we got all the colors.
And he cut it at just the right angle. Did you do that with? Would you do that with your Leatherman?
I used a rock.
You used a rock?
Yeah.
So you did it traditionally, just the right angle, which is about something, and the length is just about this long. We need to pick some pressure-treated 2x4s. Is there a place we can get those around here?
They usually grow next to the lodge pole.
Next to the lodge pole? Okay, well, we're going to dig around a little bit, and when we find some, we're going to come back. Leave it! All right, so it looks like Mikhail found us a couple of pieces of freshly grown pressure-treated 2x4, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to show you his special way to actually harvest this material so that it is sustainable and it will return the following year. So Mikhail, can you show us how you harvest 2x4 so it's sustainable and reproducible so it'll come back year after year?
You got it. Here we go.
Oh, that's amazing.
There we go.
That is absolutely amazing.
See, you can tell that this is the pressure treated stuff by the way it is.
You think we could find some more?
You know, it should be around here somewhere. I bet we could. Just a little. Oh, looks like there's one right there.
Can you go harvest that one?
I'll go get that one. You don't want to approach it straight on because then it knows, and you want it to be calm and relaxed when it's harvested. Otherwise, you know, the quality suffers.
Do not agitate the timber before you pluck the timber.
So, you know, I'm going to look over there. Oh, there we go. See,
all right.
That was a clean break.
It looks like we have all the materials we need.
Oh, excuse me. It wasn't me, it was my lunch.
Doesn't matter, I'll edit it.
Excellent. Probably add a few more in. And Wilhelm scream. We've got our materials. Now we just got to cut and put them together. Reason why PVC makes such an excellent fleshing beam is one, it's easy, and it's smooth and hard, so that
and
you don't.
Cheap.
It's cheap.
It's cheap.
Yeah. You can
all
get it
kidding
anywhere.
aside, yeah, obviously PVC doesn't grow in the forest, and it's not an ancient way to do this, but it is cheap. It's easily accessible, and you can actually get it in a variety of colors: white, gray, black,
blue, whatever. Well,
yeah, blue.
Honestly, keep your eyes out. A lot of places where they're doing construction and they're turning old farms into subdivisions, and you know, it's unfortunate, but they have a lot of this irrigation pipe, and they usually just leave it in a pile to get hauled away to the dump. You ask the right people, and you'll have more than enough PVC to make a fleshing beam and it doesn't have any divots or imperfections that can catch your fleshing knife and tear your hide,
Right.
which is the main concern, honestly.
And we're going with a 4-inch. The 4-inch is what I wanted. Primarily what I'll be doing is some deer and elk hides.
Yeah.
I don't need anything too large. I'm not doing buffalo hides.
Well, even buffalo, you're only scraping that much of the hide at a time, really.
Right.
Where the size of this is going to come into play is, say you wanted to do a case-skinned small game like a fox.
I may, probably the smallest game that I'm going to case skin is probably going to be something like a coyote.
Yeah, and that'd fit on this, no problem.
Right.
You just put the whole thing right down and use it to clean
So
that
really
hide
the
up.
size of the pipe, you have to determine your needs. It goes up to about 8-inch when you start getting into irrigation ditching.
Yeah.
This is a 4-inch, and you can even go smaller, but I wouldn't go any smaller.
Well, and because this is that smaller size, we're not even going to cut it in half. We're just going to slip this over the 2x4 and screw it in place, and it will do what we need. Sweet. You know, this is the origins of the term fatwood. They'd be like, hey, you look like you could use some weight. Why don't you go saw some fatwood, fatty? Now what we're going to do is we're going to mark about 2 foot, because it's going to help support PVC. So we'll overlap it that far, and then we're going to screw it together. Oh yeah, baby. Get in there. The reason why I'm doing it down here and I don't like to move anywhere further up the pipe is because I don't want these holes or this rough spot possibly damaging my hide when I put the draw knife over the top of it, the hide scraper. So down here it's safe because my arms aren't long enough to get much past here while I'm scraping, so this will be okay. So the type of fleshing beam that we're building is one that sits like so. We're going to build a frame here, that's the next part. But this way you drape the hide over the pipe, you pinch it between the sharp part and your gut. But basically, now I'm going to be able to work at a comfortable level. I'll have the hide here and I'll just be scraping down like so, getting all the membrane and all the hair and everything off that hide in preparation for tanning. See, I can't reach where those screws are, so there's no chance of them really doing any damage to my hide. You know, so what I like to do with these legs is I usually cut them at like a 10-degree angle. In fact, I make all my cuts at the same angle, the same degree, because then when I piece it together, it's going to make a real nice little A-frame, and all the edges are going to line up. So we just eyeballed a degree by moving this. That looks okay, and we'll just use it for everything. It should be fine, you know. Kind of arbitrary, so we marked it right here, marked it right there. Got to cut here, do that for another leg, because that's what this is. This is the leg, and then we just got a few cross pieces to cut, which again we'll cut at the same angle that we have set here, whatever it may be.
So theoretically, if I didn't have a little adjustable angle doohickey, I could just draw the line where I think it should be on one board and use that board as my angle guide for all the rest of them.
But that's the secret. You just cut all of your boards with the same angle, and when you piece it together, they'll all line up flush.
So how long is this board?
You know what? We're going to start with 30 inches from the outside tip here to that tip. And the reason for that is when we put it all together, we want the fleshing beam to hit right about mid-belly, so that you're not hunched over to work it, nor are you way up here and you have no power. You know, so it's just right here so you can comfortably scrape. And because we're kind of you know, fudging the numbers just a little bit to put it together out here, we're going to start off with a little bit longer legs, so 30 inches on the legs. I have a feeling that when all is said and done, it's going to come together just about right. And this is kind of the cool part. Once you get your legs cut and you figured out what angle you want to use, you use itself as a gauge for all your measurements. I don't have to use a tape measure at all from here on out. So I want to make sure that my beam, the fleshing beam, will fit down between these two pieces when it's in storage. It doesn't go together this way, but this is how I want it to store. So I'm going to take this little piece right here, and that's my gauge. About that big, looks good, has a little bit of wiggle room. All I gotta do is line it up so that it is flush. So I got this mark right here, and this one right here. I happen to have a straight edge, check that out, just on this piece of scrap. Line that up. There's where I'm going to cut. Now make sure these edges are opposing, because this is going to go like this right across here. And once I cut it, that'll line up. And then, because I need two pieces like this, I just take this one and I lay it on top of here, mark it, cut it again, and then we screw it all together. People are like, my Silky is better than your Baco. And you know, the other person's like, nah, my Baco is better than your Silky. And then you always got that guy at the back corner, I like Corona from the hardware store. Honestly, if you chose between a Silky and a Baco because you like the color of the handle, I don't think you'd be wrong. Well, we got those two top braces cut. They fit nice. We're going to screw them together so everything holds together and doesn't shift while we measure the bottom brace. I came up with this design out of necessity. I just used what I had at hand, but it's such a simple design. I would not be surprised at all if somebody else came up with the exact same thing, because it's a simple solution that works. So, you know, honestly, I was thinking of those chairs that come in two parts and you just hook the chairs together and they bind. That's where the whole idea for this came about. Isn't that cool how all the little angles line up? All the edges are flush just because we cut everything at the same angle. I think it was a good call, David, on using pressure treated wood, these nice deck screws, because you're going to have a pretty bacteria rich environment soaking into this over time, you know, with all those hides and so on. And this will just make sure that it lasts for many, many years and many, many hides. Now we have to give enough space between these two beams for the main fleshing pole to fit through. So I'll just fit that up against there. So I'm using my handy dandy little piece of scrap as a gauge, making sure that's about where it needs to be. That looks like it's where it needs to be. I mean, we don't want it so tight that we can't get it in there. So now we mark it. This block is awesome. You know, I'm gonna market this. It's gonna be like, check it out. It's an all-in-one straight edge, ruler, angle guide, and width gauge. The scrap gauge, free, $19.99 shipping and handling. We got these cross braces, the bottom one's cut, and now I'm going to attach them. I'm using the top, the other brace as a gauge at the moment because it goes all the way across. And now we fasten it to the leg.
So that's the sum total of all of our scrap for 2 full 8-foot 2x4s.
Yeah, that's everything.
Just those 2 little pieces?
Uh-huh.
Sweet.
And we used it all, more or less, so. Here we are, now we're ready to test it out. This really didn't take that long. I'm going to take the fleshing beam, fit it into the frame, like that. Locks down. Ha-ha! Ta-da! That is solid. That isn't going anywhere. Look at that. One of the things that we adjusted on this one, why we made it just a little bit wider, is because you can store it. So if you're not a professional trapper, if you're only handling a hide maybe once a year during deer season and so on, you don't want this laying around. You don't want it in your yard being an eyesore. So now we can take it apart just like this. Yeah. Now we can take this, stick it in the corner of the garage. It's flat up against the wall and out of the way. And there you have it. You got the complete fleshing beam. It is easy to make. It's cheap. What, you know, 2 2x4s, a handful of screws and some PVC. You can store it away easily, but now, more importantly, you have a way to process those beautiful deer hides every hunting season rather than throwing them away.
That was awesome. Thanks for your help, Mikhail. And by help, I mean doing all the work
Yeah.
while I filmed it. So if you don't know who Mikhail is, you can check out his channel right here. And if you like what you're seeing here, go ahead and think about subscribing. I thank you for watching it. I love you for being here, and I will see you on the next one.